Meeting for June 11th, 2013. I'd like to call to order, please, and we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone please stand and remain standing until we've had the invocation. Ready to begin. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you please bow your head?
Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity that we have to come and do the city's business. We just ask you'll give us wisdom tonight, be with each and every person here. And I just praise you and thank you. And I ask this all in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Could we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Davis.
Present.
Hutchins.
Present.
Candia.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martina.
Present.
Mayor Caton.
Declaration of conflict of interest. There being none. We have ceremonial manners tonight. We have two officers that are going to be pinned. The two officers, so that'd be Clinton Finucci and Bianca Zendejas. Zendaya. I'm sorry.
Easier for said.
And our chief will do the honors.
Evening, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. It's my pleasure to introduce to you tonight Clinton Finucci. Come on up, and Bianca Zendejas. Nope. Wait, come on. Tell you a little bit about him before we actually do the swearing in. Clinton was born in Lodi, raised primarily in Stockton. He's a graduate of Bear Creek High School. After high school, he joined the Army, served in Iraq in 2008, 2009. He's a war veteran. After serving in Iraq, he came home, decided he wanted to become a police officer because I think he stated, I wanted to feel important. Just kidding. So he joined San Joaquin Delta College, where he graduated in 2012. In his spare time, which he doesn't have a whole lot of, he coaches baseball. Clinton is joined tonight by several family members and friends. I'm going to list a few of them. If I left you out, it's his fault, not mine, because I asked him to give me a list. His son, Aiden, who's 9, who will be doing the badge pinning tonight. His father, Roy. Stepmom, Patty. Mother, Nene, and her significant other, Tim. Brother, Roy Jr., sister, Victoria. Grandfather, Louie. His uncle, Louie Jr. His aunt, Tina. Cousins, Dylan and Caitlin. And his grandmother, Faye. That's close. And friends.
Murray and Who's Al Murray and Isaac?
Al Murray and Isaac. All right. He left you off. All right. Our other one hiding back here is Bianca Zendejas. She was born in Hollister, California, and then moved back to Michoacan, Mexico at an early age. I think she said 6 months. She lived there until she was 9. Family moved back to California, to Los Banos, where she was raised the remainder of her life and currently lives. Graduate of Los Banos High School. Bianca then attended the COS, which stands for the College of Sequoias Police Academy, where she graduated in 2011. Bianca also has several family members with her tonight. Her 2 sons, Alberto, who's 12, and Alec, who's 6, her father, Gonzalo, mother, Teresa, and her boyfriend, Jesus. Little side note, Bianca also has a twin sister, Jessica, who's a deputy sheriff for Tulare County. She couldn't be here tonight because of work. So they both are now police officers. Pretty interesting.
Sweet.
So now I'm going to ask you guys to kind of face me, stand side by side, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Bianca Zendejas,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will and faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will and faithfully discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
enter.
Congratulations, welcome to the family. Thank you. First one up.
All right, well, I just want to thank the city council and the mayor and Chief Richardson and Newman for giving me the opportunity to come out and do this job. I've been out for about, I think, 4 days now, and I love this job. This town's, it's awesome. Reminds me of Lodi, kind of. It's just peaceful, quiet. It's a great town. I want to thank my family and friends and for dealing with me. I know that I put you guys through a lot lately, or in the military and stuff, and just taking care of my son and me, I appreciate it. I just want to thank you guys for showing up. And I love you guys, and thank you, Newman, for giving me an opportunity. I'm excited, and I just want to go out and do the job. Thank you.
Hello, I would like to thank the City of Newman, Chief Richardson, City Council, and City Mayor for giving me this opportunity. I would also like to thank my family for sticking there with me, for never give up on me, believing in me, and thank you for giving me this amazing opportunity.
I'd like to say that, you know, we have this happen periodically when officers are sworn in, but it's always such a great pleasure to see new officers sworn in, and we wish you nothing but success as officers in Newman, and we're so proud to have you. And at this time, we're going to take a short break.
Are you going to pin?
Good job there, Chief. Just,
They had them on already. They're not supposed to have them on.
you can blame it on me. Okay.
They're already ready to work, they said. They don't need to do badge pinning. They don't need those stinking badges. Aiden, if you could come on up, and Gonzalo and Alberto, if you could come on up. Would you rather have them down front? Would that be better? Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Take that badge down front. Make sure you stick it in your dad's chest.
Where are they going down? Just right there?
Randy.
Hey, all the way up front, guys.
Yeah.
Get that logo behind you.
We're going to make this right. Hey, congratulations.
Welcome aboard.
Get it together.
Congratulations, welcome aboard. Congratulations.
Congratulations, welcome aboard. Congratulations.
Yeah, let's do a ranger pinning.
I have a big symbol.
No, they didn't.
Okay, we ready to resume? We're ready. Okay, we're back in session, and welcome everybody who's left. But item 7, items from the public, non-agenda items. Any member of the public wish to address the council, now's the time to do it. Seeing none, we'll move to item 8, consent calendar. Waive all readings of ordinances and resolutions except by title, approval of the warrants, approval of the minutes of the May 14, 2013 meeting, adopt resolution number 2013, next in number, a resolution approving the Tulare Street Infrastructure Improvement Project as complete and authorizing Ed Caton as mayor and Michael E. Holland as city clerk to record a notice of completion. E is adopt resolution number 2013, next in number, authorizing the city manager to execute the 2014-2016 CDBG cooperation agreement with Stanislaus County.
I move we approve the consent calendar as read.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9 is public hearing. A is adopt resolution 2013, next in number, resolution declaring the existence of a public nuisance under ordinance number 95-4. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Before you tonight is another nuisance abatement. Notices are sent to property owners with accordance with 95-4, Chapter 2, Title 8-2-3, which informs the property owners of their rights to object at a public hearing, which would be tonight. All property owners must comply, and if they don't comply, we have these type of hearings. We anticipate that the majority of the property owners will comply. Before you tonight is one property, 1616 Loch Brea. We have 3 pictures for you, tall weeds and grass, and a fence that's down. The fiscal impact is none, and I will turn it back over to staff for any questions.
Any questions or comments by council or the chief? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Anybody wish to address the council? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for direction.
I make a motion, we adopt resolution number 2013, next number, a resolution declaring the existence of a public nuisance under ordinance number 95-4.
I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Item 10, regular business. A is report on Canal School Road traffic safety assessment. Gardner?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and council members. As you stated, item for you tonight is a report on Canal School Road. The city has received complaints of speeding and has experienced 8 vehicle accidents in the last 4 years on Canal School Road. Therefore, we contracted with K.D. Anderson and Associates to analyze the roadway and determine if there was any possible remedies that we could look at. K.D. Anderson and Associates is a well-respected traffic engineering firm specializing in design and operational analysis for transportation infrastructure. Before we go into the devil's of the detail of the report, what I have here is an aerial photograph of the area that we're going to be analyzing tonight, and more specifically, it's going to be this area here where my cursor is. But in general, we did look at some of the areas south on Canal School Road and on Hills Ferry. The line depicted coming across at an angle across here is the border between Stanislaus County and Merced Avenue, but more specifically, going to be looking at from Inyo Avenue here north to Hills Ferry. As you can see, this is a relatively straight roadway with a slight angle point at Inyo Avenue, approximately right in here. This is a major thoroughfare for traffic traveling through the city and interregional within our area. Between Highway 33, which is further south off the screen here, all the way to Hills Ferry, there are no stop signs except for at those 2 intersections. Within the city limits, the roadway is approximately 1/3 of a mile long. On the west side of the road, over in this area right in here, is residential uses, with the east side of the road being currently is agricultural uses, and that may change in the future. This is a photo of Canal School Road as you approach the Inyo Avenue intersection. And as you can see, there is it might be a little hard for the audience to see, but right in here is a 45-mile-per-hour speed limit sign. This is a T intersection with only a stop sign at Inyo Avenue. And you can see that it is a agricultural rural roadway approaching a urban area. As we move a little further north, you can let me back up one slide. If we move a little further north, then you can see on the west side of the roadway, there are some improvements. I'll get into that a little bit more. There are some curb and gutter and sound wall improvements. And on the west side of the road, there is some gravel, and it should be noted that the city limit line for this area runs right along the edge of pavement, that the road improvements over here where the gravel is, that is not our roadway. That is private property.
Is that county or is that privately owned property?
County, and it is private.
Okay.
Yep, that is our city limit line. And this is a view looking from Merced Street, looking south. Again, you can see the partial improvements that have been put along the roadway on the west side of the road. And as you move further north here, where we have done some improvements with our Proposition 1B grant money to help at this location, but there is still some unimproved roadways. Current conditions. Currently, Canal School Road is a 2-lane roadway. There's curb gutter, sidewalk, and a sound wall on the west side of the road, as I showed in the pictures, with a graveled shoulder on the east side. It is currently improved to its half section with no direct residential access except for 3 local collector streets that access onto Canal School Road. So when I say no direct access, there's no homes fronting onto Canal School Road with driveway approaches and such. The only access they have is to pull out onto it from a collector street. It is currently posted as 45 miles per hour. And the general plan classification for this road is a 4-lane arterial. And 4-lane arterials are thoroughfares for crosstown movement of regional traffic and throughout our town. In addition to that, it is intended to move larger volumes of traffic, and this road is classified as a truck route. This is the general plan designation. This is the circulation plan that is currently in our general plan. And if you look at the Canal School Road section, which is right here, this is a dark black line, and you look at the legend, and it classifies this as a 4-lane arterial roadway. You'll notice at the north end of the roadway, as you approach Hills Ferry Road, they do show a potential realignment of Canal School Road, and at a planning level design, this is just to show how we could potentially realign this with Driscoll Avenue and create a 4-way intersection with, as traffic and warrants meet, could potentially even be a future stoplight. Canal School Road traffic counts. So in the report, we also looked at the traffic counts, and at Inyo Avenue, or south of Inyo Avenue on Canal School Road, currently they showed 2,954 vehicles in a 24-hour period. North of Inyo Avenue, 3,122 vehicles per day. And you look at the 2005 general plan, they did traffic counts as well for a 24-hour period, and they're pretty much identical, 2,950 vehicles. Now, it should be noted that these were collected over a 24-hour period on April 11, 2013 by pneumatic tube counters. This was not a radar speed survey. In the general plan, they identify what is considered a level of service of C for our roadways. They're rated between A through F. And generally, you don't want to exceed a level of service of C for most of our roadways, and that is what our designation is in our general plan. For 2-lane roadways, such as Canal School Road currently exists, a level of service of C would be that you don't exceed more than 15,000 vehicles in a 24-hour period. However, at the future build-out of Canal School Road, it is considered a 4-lane arterial with very limited access to move traffic through interregionally and across our town. It is a level of service of C at a 4-lane arterial in excess of 25,000 vehicles per day at build-out. And I would still maintain you at a level of service of C, which is a goal in our general plan. Next, we analyzed vehicle speeds. We had a range of vehicle speeds that ranged from approximately 10 miles per hour up to almost 70 miles per hour. However, if you look at the average speed on that roadway, the study determined that the average speed was 42 miles per hour, with the 85th percentile being 49 miles per hour, which is consistent with what we have posted out there now. Then we looked at the design, operational, and safety issues along the roadway. The consultant determined that the alignment, which when we looked at the overhead aerial photograph of that, is fairly straight except for one little realignment at Inyo Avenue, determined that that was adequate for the speed limit that it is posted. However, the report does note that if you exceed the posted speed limit, then that alignment may be an issue. Then we also looked at left turns. Would it be a possibility that maybe it's a left turn lane issue, and they determined that the volumes were too low to warrant installing left turn lanes. And then we looked at the visibility in the area, and more specifically, the report narrowed it down to that may be a potential for some intersection visibility at Inyo Avenue at night, but not during the day. Then we analyzed the collisions. Overall, we determined there was 8 collisions in the previous 4 years. Of those 8 collisions, the majority of those were northbound traffic leaving the traveled roadway. In addition to that, 6 of the 8 collisions were single vehicle incidents. In the report, then they make some recommendations that could potentially improve people's awareness of speeds. More specifically, they wanted to measures to remind motorists how to slow down as they approach Inyo Avenue intersection and obey the speed limit, and to make Canal School Road near Inyo Avenue more visible at night. More specific, the recommendations are to install an oversized speed limit sign at Inyo Avenue, install flashing beacon sign on that speed limit sign, install a street light at Inyo Avenue intersection, and then to refresh the center line stripe along Canal School Road and install an edge line stripe on the east side of the roadway for Canal School Road. These estimated costs are approximately $13,000, and they are included in our fiscal year 2013-2014 budget. We estimate approximately 60 days to install these improvements. However, some of these improvements were designed to be in Merced County. It might take a little longer on those part of those improvements in Merced County. However, we are looking at trying to get the striping part of this done, items 4 and 5 for restriping the center line and restriping the edge line, hopefully within the first few weeks of July. That concludes my report on Canal School Road, and at this time I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Garner, have you had a conversation with Merced County yet?
I have not.
Okay. I actually, and I like all these 4 recommendations. I think they'd be very helpful. One of the other things I just wonder if it might be helpful is the speed button things, you know.
The rumble buttons?
Yeah. Those might be helpful. I don't know. I know if it's going to go into Merced County, it's going to require their approval. I have a call into Deidre Kelsey, the supervisor of that area. I'm just going to see if she can give us some help, maybe to help facilitate it a little bit.
Something to bring awareness as they travel the urban,
Yeah,
from an
and,
urban area.
And, you know, I don't know how responsive Merced County will be, but I think, like the report says, installing the speed limit sign would be in their county, so it's going to require their approval.
Correct.
As well as if we are able to put the buttons, that would also be in the county, if I'm correct, unless we put them in our city limits, by that time, they're already,
there.
Yeah.
Typically, those buttons are installed when you're approaching a stop sign in non-rural, in rural areas, not typically in city limits.
Yeah.
I'd probably want to consult with our consultant that did the report and see what he feels about putting these in just as information to people that they're.
Well, I think
moving to an
it
urban
would
area.
certainly help get their attention.
It probably would.
You know, as they come across the road. A lot of the roads that I travel, different routes I take when I go into Merced every day, a lot of those roads have the buttons at different intersections. Just, I think probably, you know, for awareness, because they've had some crashes, like on West Side Boulevard at Lincoln, they're there. You know, it might be helpful. I think anything we can do to help, you know, get people's attention as they're coming into our city would be helpful.
I think we can certainly look into that.
Yeah, so that might also be a possibility to take a look at. But I have a call into Deidre, and when I'm in Merced tomorrow, I plan on going by her office and see if I can't sit down and talk with her.
Okay.
See if we can get some help from them.
Appreciate
At
that.
least to
Thank
help facilitate, move along a little bit quicker. So.
Certainly.
Quick question on you kind of confused me now. The east side, which is gravel,
Correct.
is it private or is it county?
It is in the county and it's privately owned.
Okay, so it belongs to whoever has that
I believe
that
that might
orchard
belong
out there?
to Doug Lucas, if I remember right.
Yeah, there's more than one property owner on that side, but
Oh.
There's no,
no, we own the
there's
right.
no easement or
We own the
right of way on any
right-of-way.
of that,
We own the right-of-way up to the private property line,
which is the edge of the roadway.
which is typically right at the edge of the roadway. When we annex land, they require you to annex in the adjacent right-of-way. So,
Yeah, we were required, if you look at on your screen, we were required to annex all the way to the east edge of pavement.
So that's our responsibility, or is it theirs?
again, we haven't done an actual determination of where that right-of-way line stops and starts, but at the edge of the right-of-way line, it becomes private property. It does not become property of the county of Stanislaus.
Correct.
But we'll make a determination out there where the actual property line is, but we are responsible for that right-of-way.
Okay.
Well, so when you're talking about putting a white line, you're just going to follow the gravel, is what you're...
We're going to put it on the edge of pavement.
Right. It'll be
That's
on
where
each
we're going
edge
to
of
put
the
it.
pavement.
If you can see Garner's making an annotation there on there. We'll put it at the edge of the pavement.
And that will probably help bring motorists aware to the edge of the pavement, and then it gives the illusion of narrowing the roadway, which may help with speeds, excessive speeds.
Well, I noticed that each one of these, or at least the single incident, especially the ones northbound, did not seem to be back toward Merced County, but instead were up toward the stop sign because they ran into the wall, which means that they ran across the street, right?
That's not entirely true. One did go through the stop sign, which would be at Hills Ferry and Canal School. They just failed to stop, slow down, do anything.
wall.
The rest of them appear to have started at the curve and have hit, depending on speed, various sound wall locations throughout that one block section,
So the sound wall on the west side. of
which
the
would
road.
be at Bonanza.
Yeah.
We've had-
So
At
they,
Bonanza.
So basically, they're losing control when they go off the roadway and
At Inyo.
overcorrecting.
Which would be at Inyo and overcorrecting, and is what it appears. Now, the accidents in '09 was a hit and run. No details on what happened. In 2010 was a DUI, alcohol-related. In '11, it was a hit and run, a driver, which the driver lost control. Property damage, which somebody was overtaking. They were trying to turn left, and the other person wasn't able to slow down in time, and they sideswiped. And the other one was we have no details, so I'm assuming it was to a fender bender where they exchanged names and we didn't take a report. The one in 2012, it's listed, it's a patrol vehicle, which has nothing to do with this section of roadway. It happened actually in Merced County when we were responding to a call. So it's listed as a Canal School Road incident, but it has nothing to do with this
And that was
particular stretch of...
southbound?
It was not. It was actually coming off of Sanchez, and it crossed Canal School Road. Had nothing to
okay.
do with Canal School Road at all, but it's listed as one of these. In 2013, we had a DUI also, which hit the sound wall coming off the road. And that one traveled from Bonanza almost all the way to Flour Mill due to its speed. But, his intoxication level was way up there. He didn't even remember driving. And the other one was a hit and run.
Well, hopefully, I think ideally is if we can just get traffic to slow down, the northbound traffic appears to be the issue, and, I think all of these recommendations certainly is going to help that cause. Chief, since we stepped up enforcement, has there been a lot of citations issue? Have you noticed that, has there been a change in speed, change in driving habits of people, or?
I worked, I would say approximately a month ago on a Friday night. I sat at this location, I believe, at Rodeo Grounds where it connects for a half an hour, and the top speed that I saw was 48 miles an hour. So I know there's vehicles that travel through there at a higher rate of speed. I was tucked in, I was using a radar gun so they couldn't see my car, but the average speed was right between 40 and 45.
Yeah.
So.
The one thing when you talk about the oversized speed limit sign, I know going on Falkirk, when you're going into Turlock, they've got that oversized stop sign that's got the LEDs around it.
Flashing LEDs.
Is there any way we could do that with a speed limit sign like they do so that it would make it more visible?
They do
I
have
mean,
those.
being a big doesn't really do anything for
We were
most
looking at
people.
an oversized sign and put a flashing beacon on it to remind people to look at the light, but they also have the LEDs like you're talking about. I want to say, I think the estimate I received was, besides the sign, it was another $1,500 for the flashing LEDs, I'm thinking. But they typically put them on stop signs and not speed limit signs. But I know that they do make them.
I think that flashing beacon would certainly be an attention getter. I would
Well, the
hope.
only thing with, and as you recall, the only thing with flashing beacons is in many years in law enforcement is people have a tendency to drive right at those flashing beacons when they're DUI. We've had a lot of police officers killed because of that. And with the LEDs, it's kind of a different.
Right.
So, I'm not saying that's the way we ought to go, but I think that's something that I would suggest that we look at, because I know we quit putting our flashing yellows on when we made car stops for that very reason. Because
I think
people
that's
just
something
ran
we
right
can
at
look
them,
at. Right.
especially deuces, and it sounds like most of these, or at least a good portion of these accidents involved DUIs.
Or hit and run, which we can determine
We're probably
and none of the vehicles in the hit and runs were reported stolen.
Yeah.
So we can determine that they were probably impaired, and we can't prove that they were impaired, but.
I mean, I'm just saying that as a suggestion to at least look
Yeah.
at.
Garner, is there, well, I'm sure there's a process, but just in terms of whether or not Merced County would be willing to step up and do the, we're saying that we would make these additions, just we need their approval to do it.
Correct. That's what we put in the budget, so we
Yeah.
could pay to put those improvements in.
I don't know, I wouldn't anticipate them saying no, I wouldn't think, but
I think
as
the only
long as they don't
concern-
have to spend money.
Their only concern would be that it's in compliance with the MUTTC.
Mhm.
To make sure that we're in compliance with those codes. And these recommendations are based on that.
So would you want me to continue my assault on Deidre Kelsey and, or would you want to just handle it through your channels?
I'll be welcome to step it up and do that for you if you'd like me to.
Either or, I mean, I
have
see her often, so,
If you think you have a good contact, that's fine, and if you can give her my business card,
Okay.
I'd be happy to sit down and talk to her.
I think the main thing is just get it done
Correct.
is the key, so.
I just say that as, not knowing, I've never dealt with Merced County, don't know if it'll take us more than 60 days or not. I don't know that agency.
Yeah.
We're hopeful that we can get these in within the 60 days.
Well, they can't be any worse than Stanislaus County, so. We'll see.
Question, Gardner. You talked about this being evaluated for 4 lanes. Is
That's
that
what
something
it's-
that was in the general plan?
That's what it currently is established as, that will ultimately develop into a 4-lane arterial.
Okay. 'Cause I just questioned, if there's 4 lanes in there, and the county would never put 4 lanes because they don't spend any money at all. So what would amount to a 2-lane coming into 4?
Correct.
And then, isn't there something, a design that when it makes the right turn onto Sherman
Hills Ferry.
Hills Ferry, excuse me, that it would flow right into the traffic, there wouldn't be any stop sign?
Actually, when we looked at the traffic circulation plan that's in the general plan, if you look on your screen, they're looking at a potential realignment and realigning that with Driscoll Avenue and making that a 4-way stop, potentially a
Okay.
traffic signal.
Okay.
And that will help people, because right now I know there's some concern about somebody that's turning right and they can't see to their left. And so this
Yeah.
would help take care of that by bringing it into a 90-degree angle. So that's
Yeah.
what we have currently shown in our circulation plan, and I think that would help to alleviate any issues with that intersection. It'd improve lighting.
Yeah.
And just so council's aware also that that would typically happen as development occurs. That's not something we have budgeted.
That makes a lot of sense, that design. And my last question, if we did all these recommendations, could we get an evaluation at a later date to determine if it has made a difference?
I think we could probably get some speed
Because,
counts.
it's like, and I'm sure it will, because, we've had this traffic engineer that's come in and said, these are the things that we should do to make this, safer. But anyway, just at some point.
And just to be clear on it, these are possible remedies. They're not saying this will solve the high speeders. You're always going to have people that are not going to obey the speed limit no matter what you do. But these are things to bring people's awareness to that you are entering into an urban area. And so I think that's something we can evaluate that at a later date to see if they're having an effect.
Unfortunately, there's no way to most of these accidents, like the chief has explained, have been by people who've been drinking and
These
impaired.
improvements probably would not have prevented it.
And even the ones that hit and run, we don't know, I'm sure they had too much to drink otherwise, so it's, those type of people, I don't know what you can do for them. Just
And-
get them off the road.
And just one more point to reiterate too is, the average speed out there was determined to be within the speed limit, and the 85th percentile is determined to be 49, which is typically the 85th percentile is what you look at for setting speed limits. And
Yeah,
so-
none of those speeds look way out of line, in that general area. I would have expected higher numbers, but Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, well then, this is it's a budget item. It's going to be put into the 2013-14 budget, correct?
Correct.
So the recommendation is to go forward with that. Does everybody have consensus to go forward?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Garner.
Mayor, you do have a couple property owners from the area in the audience, if you wanted to open that up for them.
Anybody want to step up and say something? Step up to the microphone and state your case, along with your name and address, phone number, social security number, checking account number. Oh, Jose.
My name is Jose Fernandez. I live at 1640 Dutch Corner Drive, off of Canal School Drive that you guys have been just talking about. We basically came to listen. We weren't going to say anything. And come back at a later date to talk about this, but this will help. This will not solve the problem. We live there. We see it every day. Everybody in this room, you can tell me you've been out there half an hour, you've been out there an hour. You don't really know what's going on. And unless I misread this report, and if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. This report says that incoming traffic coming south of Inyo, coming on to Canal School Drive.
Northbound? You refer to northbound traffic?
I'm sorry. It says that daily 1,574 cars come northbound. That's what the report says, if I read this correctly. Out of 1,574 cars, 1,275 cars are coming in at a 51-plus speed limit. If I'm reading that report wrong, somebody tell me, but that's what I got off this report. Out of 1,574 cars coming northbound toward my house, 1,275 cars are clocking in by that machine you guys put out there at 51 plus to 70 miles an hour, past 70 miles. That's how I got the report. That's how I'm reading it. Maybe I'm wrong. It also says that if you go down on that report, it says once they hit the middle of the subdivision, which is Rodeo Grounds, 227 of those cars are still doing 51 plus in a 24-hour period. And you know, I could agree with the chief. He was out there half an hour. He saw one car at 48. But what this report says is that those cars are flying through that neighborhood. Going based on a report that you guys asked for. That's what this report states. It also states that the same test was done on Hills Ferry Road. If you look at Hills Ferry Road, it says that, where the heck is it? It says that a total of 2,550 cars came westbound into city limits. Of 2,550 cars coming westbound into city limits, of 2,550 cars coming westbound, only 36 cars were over 51 miles per hour. That's a big difference. That's what this report states. The only difference between Hills Ferry and us is that that's a 35-mile zone over there. You have a lot more police presence over there. And people are aware that they need to reduce the speed limits out there. But if you go by what this report says, coming westbound into the city on Hills Ferry, where the speed limit is posted at 35 miles an hour, 2,550 cars came through that area in 24 hours. Out of those 2,550 cars, 51 plus miles an hour, only 36 cars did that. You go to the same report coming into my house, approaching my house in that subdivision, out of 1,574 cars, which is a little less traffic, 1,000 cars less, 1,000 cars less, 1,275 were doing 51 plus. So for me to sit here and listen to you guys say, there's not a speed issue out there, there's a big speed issue out there by this report. That's a big speed issue. I'm going by a report that was submitted, that's on a chart here by axles, by cars, by day and night, by 7 p.m. on. But this report don't lie. We got a serious issue. I'm not saying that this isn't going to help. You know, but then I hear, well, to put the, what do you call it, the LED lights, it's another $1,500. Well, I'm sorry to be sarcastic, but if you think $1,450 or $13,000 is a lot to not have a fatality out there, there's something wrong with everybody in this room.
Well, let me ask you, Jose, the city is taking steps to try to mitigate these issues. I don't think anybody has put a price on anything. The price that's quoted is what's going to take to do that. I don't think you heard anybody from this council balk at that.
No, I agree.
And we're taking steps to try to alleviate the problem. Let me ask you, what do you think we should do?
I
What's
still
your...
believe a stop sign should be put at Emu.
Well, you can't put a stop sign at that. How many more people you want killed there?
You keep it this way, and
No, I'm telling you, at a T intersection, if you try to put a stop sign there, you're gonna have some major accidents there. I think we're taking steps to alleviate the problem, and it may not totally eliminate some of the problems, but I think it's a step in the right direction.
correct, but lowering it to 35 is not an option either. You guys are not even looking at an option of lowering, by this report, that's not an option. By this report, 85% in a percentile, whatever, it should increase. If you look at this, it says we should increase the traffic speed out there to 50 miles an hour. That's what this report's saying.
But we're gonna keep it at 45
Right,
miles an
but-
hour.
So basically, this report's saying that at 50 or 45, it's a safe area for those neighbors to live in. When we've had 8 accidents out there, 8 recorded accidents. It's not accidents where it's been hit and run and the cops don't go out there because people hit our walls and leave. This is not like the last 2 incidents since we've had this meeting, somebody out there doing figure eights, lost control, almost took out the wall. I mean, you could go out there, you see the figure eights all, this is counting what's recorded, documented. This is not every report, this is not every accident that's happened out there in 8 years.
Well, I guess...
Sorry if I sound fired.
Oh, no, I understand your frustration, but I think you need to give the city some credit, is we're taking steps to try to alleviate the problem.
No, I agree.
And
I'm not
so
discrediting-
why don't we get this in place and see if there's a reduction? Because we're having to deal with Merced County as well, because we're putting signs and bumps and things in the county. And, not that they will, I don't think. They could very well tell us, no, you're not going to put those signs up in our county. You're not going to put speed bumps in our road. You're not going to do those things. And if that happens, then we're back to square one, and we have to try to do it within our city limits. But we're trying to work with an outside agency as well to try to make this happen. And I think that our staff has, we've expended a lot of money to try to get some answers, and the numbers are what they are, and we're going to try to, fix the problem. And it can't be done overnight. It just doesn't happen that way.
Here's my frustration. 4 months ago, we came in front of the city council. 4 months ago, we said we had a safety issue out there. 4 months went by. Not one person got back to the neighbors in that subdivision saying, the city is doing this, the city is doing that. Not one person. 4 months later, I send a letter to Mr. Gardner saying, what's the city doing? We haven't heard, we don't know what the heck is going on.
I got a copy of that letter,
You got a
and
copy? Yeah.
we had already taken action.
Yeah, I got a copy, that letter sent to my house, sent to me and to the neighbors saying that the city would fix the wall one last time. And then legal ownership of the wall would go to the private property owners, which is a completely different matter that I could bring up right now, or I could bring up at a later date. Okay? That letter came out after I wrote mine. And I understand the city's done this in 4 months, and I understand that. What I don't understand is that we didn't even get the courtesy. And you can tell me, because I've been told to my face by people in the staff that we're not supposed to jump every time you talk. I agree, you're not. But if somebody brings up a safety issue, anywhere I've worked for, safety is number one. I don't care what's going on. And you could downplay this any way you look at it. Well, we brought up a safety issue, 4 months we didn't hear it. And I understand these things takes time, don't get me wrong. I understand this takes time. But if 4 months, the city starts putting gravel out there, which now is supposedly private property, it's not even city property, that's private property. The gravel that's put out there is not even completely done. The gravel that's put out there, where the gravel should be toward coming off in you, where the cars are losing control, the gravel's put on the other end of the road. It's not even all the way up to where all the holes are. There's no gravel out there. There's a sign out there that says 45 miles an hour. You're talking about putting bigger signs out there, right? Well, you have a sign out there now coming southbound that says 45 miles an hour. that's been covered by a tree for the last 4 months. Nobody from the city went out there to look at it. Nobody cut the tree down until we went to a meeting with the city manager last week and we said, there's a sign out there, you can't even read the sign. The next day it was cut. I give them credit for that. The next day it was cut. But do you think it's right that us as neighbors have to go out there and look at these things? When we brought it up 4 months ago, there's problems out there, and nobody sees a sign covered by a tree saying 45 miles an hour? I don't think that's right. You know? As a neighborhood, and we wanted to come to this meeting, only 3 of us came. All of us didn't come because we didn't put everything together that we wanted to put together. It was little time. We went to a meeting with the city manager this week. We asked a lot of questions. We didn't get a lot of answers. The last answers we got, if we had any questions regarding the wall or anything, put it legally down and put it down in paper, submit your questions in writing. He'll give it to his attorney, because that's what attorneys do. So we haven't had time to submit the questions. But we do have questions about the wall. But all of a sudden, we have all these accidents out there, and now I own a wall. I own a wall that when I bought my house, I didn't know if the wall was mine or the city's, okay? I did not know that. But I bought my house, whatever, 4 or 5 years ago, and I said this before, the wall was hit. Big old hole in that wall, like the last one. Went to State Farm, to my insurance, told them, hey, I got a wall when I hit my homeowner's insurance. They asked me, is it your wall or is it the city's? I said, I don't know. Came to the city, asked the question, they didn't know. They said they have to look into it. And I didn't have the store here in Newman, I worked in Gustine at the time. Called the city a week and a half later, 2 weeks later, saying, hey, I haven't heard there's a big hole who owns the wall because kids, it's a safety hazard out there. I don't want nobody to get hurt because one of my neighbors complained to me, are you going to fix the wall? What are you doing? At that time, I was told that that wall was city-owned wall. It was not private property. Don't touch that wall. Do not touch that wall. The city will pay and fix for it. The city will fix for it. Per the city attorney at that time. Okay? The wall was paid for and fixed by the city. It's been hit 3 more times, 2 more, whatever. It's been fixed every time. Okay? Every time it's been fixed. Now we bring it up 4 months ago that we have a safety issue because it got to a point that we're afraid to live out there. I mean, we're afraid to live. We're afraid to keep those kids in those backyards. You might think that's strange, but you get a fear in your head that you have these cars coming through and one's going through the wall. The last accident proved that. The wall was hit so hard, it went through the house. If anybody lived in that house, it could have possibly killed or injured somebody. Okay? Then we get a letter from the city, the letter that came out telling me that the wall's now mine. Okay? And that's fine. If it's a private wall, then say it's a private wall, it's my wall. That the city made a mistake, that the city could make mistakes, that, okay, they made a mistake the first time they paid for it. The second time, the third time, they kept making all these mistakes. Okay? How would you feel if you're in my shoes now that you're told, now it's your responsibility? Now at the frequency of these accidents, we're having 2 a year. That if another car hits my wall is the one that's going to get hit more because I'm right on the corner coming off of Union. That if it gets hit again, I already talked to State Farm. State Farm says if they hit your wall and it's a private wall, you have a $1,000 deductible. You pay $1,000, we fix it. The second time your rates go up. The third time you'll be dropped. Well, what am I supposed to do? I have to move. What am I going to live there and I get dropped and I have no homeowner's insurance? The letter stated that the wall will be fixed one last time, which the wall down the street where the bricks went through the house, it got fixed. It got fixed last week, I think it was, last week or something like that. The wall got fixed. A week after that accident, mine got hit, a hit and run. I think that's one of the ones he reported, a hit and run. No, the bricks didn't go through the thing, but just cracks on my wall. Okay? You're giving me, I'm getting a wall now that's cracked. It could be 2, 3, 4, whatever. There's 5 cracks out there on that wall right now. Went to Mr. Gardner's office. He told me that the wall only had 1 crack. I said, no, it doesn't. The wall has 4 to 5 cracks. He said, no, the last time I was out there with you, that wall had 1 crack. I said, really? I said, maybe I'm being sarcastic here. I went out there with a chisel and I chiseled more cracks. I said, but the night of the accident, when the police officers were out there, we took pictures. I took pictures of the cracks. And maybe I got out of hand in his office. Maybe I got too crazy, I got emotional, and if I did, I apologize to him for that. Then he said he had to take some phone calls, so I left. The phone wasn't even ringing, but I left. The next day, he came into my store and told me, I was too emotional, which is true. I got very emotional. I'm not denying it. I got very emotional. Okay? The next day, the city engineer went out to my house, supposedly, or in a few days. A few days later, he came into my store and said, city engineer went out there, the wall is structurally sound from the cracks. I don't have a problem with that. If the city engineer says it's structurally sound, then I told him and I told the city manager, I want it in writing. Because State Farm wants it in writing. State Farm wants a letter saying that that wall is structurally sound, even though it has cracks. That is structurally sound, because if it gets hit again, State Farm wants to know that that wall is structurally sound. I asked for a letter in writing. I asked for it, State Farm's asked for it. Nothing has happened. And then somebody tell me how an engineer could go to my house, look at my wall from the outside, sees 5 cracks, okay, 4 or 5 cracks, never goes inside my backyard to look, never walks into my backyard. How do you designate that structurally sound if you don't go in the backyard to look? How is that possible? I'm not an engineer, and maybe there's ways to show that, but how do you say a wall is structurally sound when you don't go in the backyard? I mean, I'm not an engineer. I'm just putting out the questions out there. Okay. The other thing, the wall supposedly is a private wall now. That's fine. If it's a private wall, it's going to be a private wall. But if it's a private wall, I'm told by your city manager and by your director of public works that the greenery has to stay on the wall, can't come off. The electrical boxes have to stay on the wall. City electrical boxes have to stay on those private walls, can't come off. The Lucas Ranch signs have to stay on the wall. If it's I can't paint the wall. If it's a private wall, what rights do I have on that wall? If I can't take down the greenery, if I don't want it there, shouldn't I have a right to take it off? If it's got a sign that has nothing to do with me, shouldn't I be able to take it off if it's my wall, my private wall? I'm responsible for it. If there's an accident through that wall and that sign is damaged, I have to pay for that sign. Why should I have to pay for a sign that's not mine? And my sign is small. My sign is Lucas Ranch letters. My neighbor's signs down the street is big old 4x8 slabs, real thick. That ain't cheap. And then I can't paint it. I can't pull any electrical boxes. We can't pull down. How is that a private wall if the city's using it? I don't understand that. And then I pay $159 assessment fees on my taxes every year, and so does everybody in that neighborhood. Out of the $159 assessment fees, under assessment fees by the city of Newman in your reports, it says it's to cover landscaping, lighting, fences, walls. The word walls is on there. So I'm paying taxes for a wall that's a private wall. 3-4 years ago, whenever it was, the city council voted to increase the assessment fees. Part of the assessment fees, or the 2 major issues on the assessment fees, was the lighting and the maintenance of walls. You guys took up the taxes. Was approved, was voted on. And now you're giving me a wall that's supposedly mine, that the city screwed up 4 or 5 years ago and kept paying for, that I'm paying legally taxes for every year, that I can't touch. I'm afraid to, and call me sarcastic, I'm afraid to lean against that wall right now. Because it's privately mine, but I can't touch it. So basically, don't touch the wall, right? I mean, is that fair? I mean, is that right?
Okay, Jose, I think, let's try to get a couple things done. We're going to work on Canal School Road issue, and that's in process. And I think, I'd like to have staff give Mr. Fernandez an answer one way or the other. Is the wall his? Is it ours? What's the technical parts of what can he do with the wall? I mean, if it's his wall, the signs, the power boxes, the greenery, whatever, I think he deserves to have a clear direction what he can, what he can't do, I guess.
And
Mayor,
along
these
with
were some
that-
of the questions that occurred in our meeting. I asked him very kindly to put those questions in writing so I could run those by our legal counsel. I'm not an attorney, so I could not answer those questions for him. I said, if you we'll put those in writing, we will respond in writing.
Okay, so Jose, gather your thoughts and your questions you have, get them submitted, so we can get a legal opinion from our attorney, you know. I understand your frustration, and I think you deserve some answers, and we'll try to get those to you as clearly as we possibly can. But I think, in my mind, the biggest thing we want to do, we want to try to take care of the traffic issue. We need to get that taken care of. I think this council is committed to getting that done. You know, the money's budgeted to do what we can to try to get that problem resolved.
No, I understand it,
So-
and I understand this will help. I do understand that. But what I don't agree with, what I don't like is everybody sitting here and somebody made a comment here. I thought the speeds were higher, and the speeds are higher. The speeds are higher. If you look at these reports, somebody made a comment here a few minutes ago. I thought going into the speed coming into this neighborhood is higher. It's higher by your reports. By your reports, you got speeds 51 plus, 1,275 cars.
But the 85th percentile dictates, you know, what speed limit should be, and it says it should be 45 miles an hour. And even if you, and just in my 35 plus years in law enforcement, you can lower it down to 35, and that's not going to solve the problem.
No, it's not, but if you look, and I agree with you, but if you look at the report, compare Hills Ferry, that's what you guys did. You compared Hills Ferry to Canal School, that's what you did. If you compare both, what's the difference between Hills Ferry and Canal School? I mean, Hills Ferry's got 1,000 cars more than us. What's the other difference? The other two main differences is a 35-mile zone, and his officers enforce that tremendously.
Right.
I come into town, I slow down. I'm the first to say I slow down because I know it's a 35-mile zone. I will slow down. This report proves that his officers are doing their job. That everybody respects Newman PD because they don't want to get a ticket. That's what it says in writing right here.
Mayor, what the report says is, outside of our jurisdiction, there are a number of speeders entering our jurisdiction. When they get into our jurisdiction, there's a substantial speed reduction.
227 cars into your jurisdiction. 227 cars.
227 are still in excess of that speed, that's
Yeah,
correct.
227 cars.
But the
in
majority of the
subdivision.
1,200 that's measuring outside of our jurisdiction.
So, but so that's 227 cars compared to 36 on the other through here. That's a difference of, what, 1 to 8 times over, right? That's a big difference, 227 cars. If you want to go out of your jurisdiction, if you just want to go into your jurisdiction, the city limits, that's 227 cars compared to 36. The only difference in the roads is it's enforced at 35 miles. It's enforced by his officers. They're doing an outstanding job because it shows only 36, and on Canal School, people are just flying through. That's all I'm saying. I mean, you know, I came to this meeting 4 months ago to have peace of mind. That if a fatality or anything happens out there, I have peace of mind that I did everything in my power. I did everything in my power to bring it up to the city, to bring it up to everybody's awareness of what was happening up there. Right now, I feel I did that.
Well, I think,
You know?
Jose, I think everybody recognizes that, and you and your neighbors have made it clear, and I think that the city is doing everything they can at this point to try to get that resolved. Let's take it, you know, one step at a time. Let's get these things in place, and let's see if it has an impact on the traffic, which I think it will. You know, whether or not we put big 45-mile-an-hour speeds on, I don't care if we put Christmas tree lights on them, you know, to get people's attention. You know, we'll do what we can, but we still have to work with Merced County to get their permission to put signs in their roadways and get the clearance and make sure it's legal. And I can only call the supervisor and try to make contact with her and have some dialogue with her, and I intend on doing that. And to see if she can help facilitate and move things along, try to remove some of the red tape, if you will. So,
You know, I don't come to city council meetings,
I'm glad you do.
No, but I mean, I don't come to city planning meetings and stuff, and I, you know, I know everybody here is to do a job, and I understand that. But one of the comments that was made to me and Bob at that meeting was that subdivision was designed years ago by another city council. It was approved by a general plan. And if in the future in this town you guys are approving subdivisions in a throughway like this road, everybody's saying now it's gonna be a 4-lane highway or whatever. If you're approving something like that in the future, that's wrong. Because this obviously was something very wrong. So obviously a subdivision got approved out there with the road conditions not being fair to those residents. You know,
Well, we can only try to fix what's been done. I wasn't,
No,
part
I
of
know,
that
I'm not blaming you.
process,
I'm just
and
saying,
so,
you know.
And I think, our staff does an excellent job of trying to forecast what future might hold for our community, and I think we're addressing those issues. Whether traffic flows and all that stuff was really looked at, I don't know. But we're trying to do what we can. None of us, nobody wants a fatality out there. I don't want nobody run through your wall again. But we can only do what we can at this point, and let's put these measures in place.
But I've offered to do things on my own without the city, but I can't do them. I've offered to put those poles and I'd paint them outside of my wall so it'd be another reflection for if a car hits it, it'll hit the poles before I hit my wall, but I can't do that. The city won't let me do that. I mean, I've offered things out of my own pocket. Think about it. You have a 7-year-old kid in a backyard.
I guess if you took those poles, put them on the inside of your fence,
That's in the works right now.
well,
But at the same time.
and you're certainly within your right to do
Yeah,
that.
but at the same
I think
time-
it takes care of the issue. What you're thinking of, a car's not going to come through that wall.
Well, my thinking now is, do I want to stay there? Because if I get, will the insurance company drop me? Because I'm at a high risk. That's what basically they told me. I'm going to be a high risk. That area is going to be considered high risk. Once another fatality goes through there, that's what they told me flat out. You'll be considered high risk. Your insurance will go through the roof. Am I willing to pay, You know what I mean? That's what I got to look at.
Yeah, I understand, and I sense your frustration, but I'm not an insurance man, so.
I thank you for your time.
Well, no,
I will submit the questions to because of the wall in writing. You'll get me our things in response in writing on that wall.
Okay. And I think you're going to see things will get done out there.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jose. Anybody else?
I'll be real quick. My name's Brian. I live at 502 Bonanza Drive, right on the corner there. A couple things is, Mayor, first off, I think the rumble strips, that suggestion is the best idea to get the driver's attention out of all those. I like that idea. So if we can work that in somehow, I would appreciate that. The other thing too is I think the bend in the road is the biggest problem there for these accidents. Speeding's definitely another big part of it. But if there's any way, if we're going to be doing one end of Canal School for that intersection, if we could just straighten it out, get rid of that bend, just shoot it up and maybe widen the green belt there a little bit. I think that would help everything out, and it'd be a very small slice of that farmland that's developed. So I'd like to see that worked into the long-term plan, if anything. And then the last thing here is the speeds that were taken, the measurements. I saw where the guy put the rubber strips down, and they were placed in our neighborhood about 300 yards or so from the stop sign, and people are just going to naturally be slowing down there. So I don't know who picked that spot. It was a really poor spot. I think the speeds and why Jose is so frustrated, because the values we're seeing by our house, I'm in the very first house on the corner there, and my wall's been hit too. It was about 8 years ago when that got hit. But same thing, the driver overcorrected, got into the dirt because the bin there and smacked into my wall. So a little experience there. But I think if you look at the measurements they got down south of Inyo, there's 36 cars over 70 miles an hour. And then there's like between 66 and 70, there's 88 cars. And then 283 cars from 61 to 65. Okay, and this is south of Inyo. But those are more like the speeds that Jose and I are seeing. Whoever put the next strip down there, you guys are kind of looking at our neighborhood going, oh, these are reasonable speeds. They're like 300 feet from the stop sign. Everybody's going to be slowing down there. So I think these measurements are off. You should look at the top measurements here to get a better guide on why we're so frustrated, because there's a lot of speeders there. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mayor, one last thing that I would encourage our property owners in the area to do, and I know our lieutenant's done it and I've done it as well, is feel free to make calls to the local CHP offices, advise them that you are experiencing high rates of speed on that road, and they'll come out every once in a while and do some enforcement in the Merced County side. The more residents that we can get to call the Los Banos office and ask them to do that, probably the better results that we're going to have. So
Okay.
if we can reduce some of those speeds that are showing up as a concern on the, south of Inyo, if we can reduce some of those speeds as they're coming into the community, that's obviously going to have an impact on this residential area as well. So again, I would encourage any of the property owners in the area to periodically just, again, make phone calls to your local CHP office and ask them to do a patrol of the area.
Thanks. Garner, real quick, do you have, when they came out and did the surveys, did they, I guess my question is, do you have any idea what the rationale was and where they placed the survey tubes?
They do have a standard they follow to ensure that they capture the correct speeds are represented out there. I don't know what those numbers are, but I can get that for you. If you noted, the northbound was at 51 miles an hour, I believe, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but what the southbound numbers are. But I can get that information from the consultant to find out how they determine where they place those pneumatic tubes. And I recognize this was not a speed survey. It does not say that this is where the speed should be set. In order to set them in accordance with the 85th percentile, it does have to be a certified radar speed survey.
Which is one of the things I think we need to look at, because northbound, even if you're doing 60 to 65, you let off at Inyo, by the time you hit those little markers, you're going to be down in the 50 to 45 range, where they were.
And that's why, my thought was if the speed buttons were to be installed, it'd be further south on Canal School Road prior to ending, even, prior to Inyo Road, Inyo Avenue, and that's what's going to take Merced County's approval to put those on their roadway, if at all.
Well, I know going into Gustine, it says 45 speed limit ahead,
Right.
which is in the county,
Right.
but the actual 45 mile per hour speed limit is until you hit the city limits. And there should be some way that Merced County, I don't see why they would create a problem with
Yeah,
us
and
putting that sign out there.
That's what I'm thinking, the dialogue I'll have with Deidre, I'm just going on a limb, I don't anticipate an issue, I have a pretty good relationship with her, so I'll talk with her and see, if we can get something done. I can only try, so, we'll do the best we can.
Garner, do we have any idea how much it would cost us to do an actual radar survey northbound into the city? Southbound can get up to speed, but it takes them a lot. They're almost out of town by the time they're up to speed.
The radars, I don't have exact numbers for you, but I would guess that it's going to be between $4,000 to $6,000 to do a radar survey with a report, because they have to do diagrams to demonstrate it and then determine how you want to place that speed limit. It could be a little less. That's the best information I have at this moment. But I can find out.
Councilman Hutchins, maybe mid-year would be a good time. What that would do is give a few months to see if these markers actually slow down the traffic. I think the goal will be is obviously to get this posted as low as possible. So if these are successful in reducing the speeds, that may be able to get the 45 lowered to 40 or potentially 35 as some of the residents would desire. But we would probably hope that some of these improvements would slow that traffic down, so that way when we get to the 85th percentile, it's actually lower than what it is now. And then, as you know, being a former law enforcement, the 85th percentile is a marker that it's pretty important when you're setting speed limits.
And one of the things that I think the residents need to know is that we're also bound by state law when it comes to lowering speed limits, and they really bind your hands in a lot of different ways if you don't have houses actually sitting on a street, facing the street, so your block wall doesn't do that. So in a lot of ways, I understand your frustration, but in other ways, we're kind of bound by what we can do and can't do, but we'll do everything we can to help that out.
And I'm hopeful that, the recommendations by this traffic engineer are going to slow those down. If we are successful and Merced County allows us to put in the rumble buttons, that may be another factor that may help additionally to slow this down. And then maybe when we get to the 85th percentile, at the next radar one, or we'll look at it.
If nothing else, it'll wake them up when they're driving down the road.
Well, I think it's,
you wanna address that,
it just seems to me that, it'd be just an attention getter, and if we could put them out far enough with, reduced speed ahead type signs, that kind of stuff, it'd be helpful, so.
That's what I know.
If I could make one point of clarification, if we are to do a radar survey out there and it determines that the 85th percentile is 49 miles per hour, then we're bound to post that at 50 miles per
That's
hour.
right.
So we could be
Something,
setting,
be careful what you ask
That's why I
for.
said the law sometimes binds you in the wrong way.
that's why I agree with the city manager.
If there's a fatality out there and a car goes through and kills somebody, that law will budge somehow.
I doubt it.
And then also,
I doubt it.
Really?
Yeah.
Believe me.
I'd like to add one other thing too. Part of the same law that says the 85%, there's also an exception there about extreme conditions.
Yep.
And, 8 accidents in 4 years,
Yeah.
Is extreme
Or
conditions.
that's
So there's exceptions there you need to look at.
Not according to law.
That is actually, I understand what you're saying, and you're correct, that's how it reads, but the 8 accidents in 4 years would not qualify as extreme conditions. And we go through this with OTS, the traffic safety. We can't even apply for grants because we don't fit in that category of the accidents per residency. We don't have enough accidents in our area to make those type of improvements. That's why we've been unsuccessful in getting the radar trailers and things like that, because we just don't have the amount of accidents that other cities have to make us qualify for those grants. So you're talking extreme conditions, I agree with you, but the 8 accidents in 4 years would not qualify for the extreme. Probably in the neighborhood of 100 accidents in 4 years would qualify.
But Mayor, just again, getting back to the point, we're going to, within the next 60 days, we believe that we can install all of these improvements. We do not anticipate having any real objections from Merced County.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think they're going to understand that we're going to take our traffic report with us. That gives some validity to what we're doing there. The last piece may be the rumble strips. That may take a little bit more time, but we're still remain hopeful that that'll be something that can be done in the 60 days. I know, I'm pretty confident that the ones we're seeing recommended in this report can be done in 60 days because they don't really have an impact on Merced County. So with that,
Other than placement of the sign.
yeah, but even that is still in a right of way. It's not
Yeah,
blocking
right.
anything, so you're moving it forward. I don't really see that.
I don't see them blocking, or,
Yeah. Now, the one that I am cautious about, and that's because I have some experience with PG&E, we're going to have to get power to get that street light in and do other things. And anyone who's ever worked with PG&E knows that, it's not always a quick matter with them. We can buy that, we can have that street light ready to install in no time, but them powering it up may be another issue. So, but
Right.
we'll have everything on our part done in 60 days.
Yeah. And Garner, if you can have your contact
What's that?
with
Solar.
A solar probably will not generate enough power to do a Cobra streetlight that we want to do in order to get that intersection illuminated. Because I think what we're trying to say here by putting that streetlight at that intersection, and as these gentlemen have said, is, with that little bend there, anything that we can do to lighten that up to keep people from overcorrecting or missing that turn and giving it better lighting and visibility so they don't go off the road, it's going to be better for them. So I don't think solar is going to power that.
I was going to say, Garner, if I don't know who you plan on contacting, if it's the Public
Director of
Works.
Public Works.
Yeah, for the county. Yeah, if you can do that, and then I will, I've emailed and called Deidre's office, but I'm in Merced tomorrow. I'll plan to go to her office tomorrow, see if I can contact her personally. And
I'll make contact, and I'll keep
Okay.
you posted. Sure.
If you can get her to pay for the rumble strip.
Well, and yeah, and how expensive can those be?
They're just little dots.
Yeah. So, and that's my intent was to try to get her to push that, for her to understand, that we have a problem, and they may look at, well, it's not our problem, but I'm hopeful that she won't do that.
Right. And again, Mayor, and I didn't know, she won't want to see it, but just let her know that we've done the traffic study.
Yeah.
We know the speeds, and that's something
Right.
that our Public Works Director will express with their Public Works
Right.
Director and show them, as Mr. Fernandez showed us, and, the speeds are pretty outrageous in the Merced County portion
Right.
of this stretch of road.
Okay.
Question.
At one time, I know we had a mobile unit, a flashing unit. Is that out of commission, or
The radar trailer?
wasn't the radar trailer? It was a,
It was a radar trailer.
Yeah.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, it's quite old.
Yeah, and the one that you may be remembering, Bob, we had one on loan for just a short
We
period
did.
of time, too.
I think you had a question by Mr. Fernandez.
Yes.
Would it help if we go to Fisher County as a neighborhood?
Wouldn't
It
hurt.
wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt.
They have regular meetings? or-
They do. They meet on second Monday. If you want the Merced County website, it's either second Monday or second Wednesday or Thursday. But yeah, at Merced. So it certainly wouldn't hurt.
I mean, I don't want to just beat this one again, but contacting the CHP office,
Exactly.
they out there patrol that, you're gonna get better results by contacting them, because Merced County Sheriff's not gonna patrol that area.
I called
So-
CHP 2 days ago.
Yeah, so don't be surprised if you don't see someone in the next week or so out there, so.
They told me have to talk to your local law enforcement. I said, yes. I said, well, we're trying to,
Well, if you let them know, the issue is not, if you tell them it's not in the city, so it's not a local law enforcement, it is their responsibility. Canal School Road is their responsibility. Yeah. Once it gets in the city, then it's ours, but, yeah. And if you just keep lodging complaints with the CHP, that the speeds on Canal School Road are dangerous and unsafe, and if you call them enough times, they're gonna probably do something just to get rid of you.
we get a report.
Absolutely.
Is this speed report part of the public record we've been granted
Yes.
Yeah.
to? Results?
Yes.
On our website,
Okay, great.
as part of this agenda.
Okay, anything else? Thanks for coming out, I appreciate it, and I understand your frustration, but, believe me, we're doing everything we can as well to try to make things better. Okay, thanks, Jose.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item B is approved fiscal year 2013-14 annual budget as presented in the preliminary budget document. Lou?
Evening. Before you are two resolutions. The first one is adopting the fiscal year 13-14 annual budget. The other resolution is establishing the appropriations limit according to the GAN calculations for the same fiscal year. According to the GAN limit calculations, we're allowed to appropriate up to $11.6 million. For our general fund proceeds from taxes, we're only looking at spending $4.12 million. The general fund is estimated to end up with an ending fund balance around $2.6 million, which puts us about at a 65% reserve level, and we expect to actually greatly improve upon those figures. We're asking you tonight to approve the budget as presented in the workshop earlier this evening. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them for you.
Questions, comments of Lou?
Now I'll make a motion, we adopt resolution 2013, next number, resolution adopting the budget for fiscal year 2013-2014.
I second that.
There's a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, Lou.
Mayor, there's actually two
We have to do
resolutions.
the other one,
on
too?
there. Need a second motion. Establishing appropriation.
Yep, you want to make that motion as well?
Sure. I make a motion, we adopt resolution number 2013, next to number, a resolution establishing the appropriations limit for fiscal year 2013-2014.
I second that.
There's a motion and a second again. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, C is excuse me, designation of voting delegate and alternate voting delegate for the League of California Cities Annual Conference.
I won't be there.
You won't be there. I believe myself, Councilmember Hutchins, and our city manager is attending the league conference this year in Sacramento. And every year we do a designation of who's going to carry the vote, the voting delegate for the city. And Don, I think you did it last year?
Yeah.
Where we got? And we'll be this year. I'll be happy to do it this year if there's unless there's anybody else, unless Don wants to do it.
No, if you want to do it this year, and I'll just be the alternate unless
Okay.
Michael wants to be the alternate.
Why are you shaking your head no? Okay, so if there's no objection, I'll be the voting delegate this year, and Councilmember Hutchins will be the alternate. So we need action by the council. It's an action item. Somebody needs to make a motion.
Oh, I'll make the motion.
I'll second that motion.
The motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll represent the city well. Item 11, items from District 5 Supervisor Jim D. Martini. Jim?
Air conditioner looks good. Air conditioner looks good.
Good evening, Mayor Caton, council members. I just have a few things tonight. I would like to state that our West Side walks are going on now. They are every Wednesday from 6 to 8 at the high school tracks. They go simultaneously from Patterson, Newman, and Gustine. Tomorrow will be the second one of 8 walks, and concluding on July 24th. So if you'd like to get out and get some exercise with some friends and family, go to the high school track and just walk around it. And it's social and exercise, both combined. As far as our health summit, which is August 22nd, that's when it's scheduled right here in Newman at the West Side Theater. I think that we have pretty much everything in line. We're putting together the teams now. We should have about 6 teams, at least at this time. Anyway, I'll get some information with the rules to the city, so you can designate a team captain and put that together. The Ag Commissioner has confirmed he would come, and we have the vendor, we have the speaker, and as the informational vendors, we have about 10 of them that have responded so far. These are health and fitness places and nutrition and that sort of thing. So we're pretty much on track on that. I did talk to Public Works today. They said they're out here on Hills Ferry Road now doing some repair on the road. And then the paving, which is hired by the county, George Reed, will be next week. I said the letter I got from Public Works said the job would take 2 days. We're also doing some work on Vineyard Avenue and Condon Avenue too. But apparently County Public Works is doing some repair on the road, and then the overlay is being contracted out. So everything will be finished next week. And we still have a vacancy in the Parks and Recreation Commissioner for District 5, so if anybody is interested in being in the County Parks Commissioner, that position is open as the past commissioner has moved to Washington. Okay, and that's all I
Any
have.
questions or comments for Jim? Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Items from City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Not much to report. First one was a big one, though. As the council knows, the mayor and I traveled back to Washington, D.C. to present our Orristimba Creek Flood Control Project to the Army Corps of Engineer Civil Works Review Board. It was a long process. It's about a 3-hour presentation. Our part was not that long. It was successful. We got a 5-0 vote with a unanimous vote to approve our project and to continue it to move forward. Basically, the remaining steps are there's still some interdepartmental review that occurs up at the federal level. Once those reviews are done, they'll come back and concur with all of that, and then they'll submit that to the Army Chief of the Corps of Engineers, and he'll sign off on that. What that means is your feasibility study will be done. More importantly, your CEQA document, which is your California Environmental Quality Act document, and your NEPA document, the National Environmental Protection Act. Your environmental documents are now deemed complete and approved, as well as your project. So then you become eligible for funding. So that's a very important piece. As you know, there's a new legislation that's come out for water projects, and of which flood control is one of them. They are anticipating later this year, the first quarter of 14, there may be what's called a WRDA, again, that's Water Appropriation Project. We would then become eligible to receive some funding in there. We won't know how much we're going to receive because basically our project will be ranked versus other projects, and depending on where we shake out in that ranking, we'll make a determination of whether or not we're eligible. So, but it's I think it's a major milestone. It's a major accomplishment to get this project to this report, to this level. And I know the staffing at the Sacramento Division of this Army Corps of Engineers were extremely happy. So, very, very excited about that. Any questions that we have?
I would just like to add, I'd like to commend Michael and Matt Machado. Both did an excellent job presenting it, as well as Colonel Leedy. There was 32 people in this room. It was incredible, and the 5 board members, including a 2-star general. And Michael presented the city's response to our situation and as well as Matt Machado did an excellent job, and the Colonel did an excellent job presenting to the panel. Panel of 5 from literally all over the country, from different divisions, were there. And so I'd just like to commend Michael. I think he did a great job. Matt did a great job, and the Colonel did a great job. And I anticipated a whole lot of questions, but I think the presentation pretty much answered everything. It was, they had a few questions. I think just out of necessity, I think they felt they needed to ask. The report was very, very thorough. And the Colonel Walsh, or General Walsh, used to be in Sacramento and was in charge of Sacramento, San Francisco Division, so he's quite familiar with our area in the creek. So I think that helped. So it was a job well done, and it was interesting to see that process go through. So like Michael said, it's a huge step.
Also, I think the mayor kind of underestimated it too. I provided a lot of data, but at the end, the mayor gave the impassionate plea about living through those floods in 95 and 98. It made it more human and gave the experience about what it was like to live through those, and that really resonated with a lot of the people that were in the room there as well. So, the 3 of us kind of teamed up together, really honed in our presentation, and a lot of people came up to us afterwards and told us, as the local sponsors, we all did a great job. So, again, I think it's a great milestone for the city to achieve, and it's been 14 years in the works. So, and in some of the research, this goes back to the 60s, when the Chamber of Commerce first reached out to the Department of Water Resources on this project. So, long time. So, is there any more further questions on that? If not, I'll move on to my next item. Okay. We recently had a discussion with some local soccer groups. That item is now scheduled for the July meeting in Parks and Recreation Commission. So hopefully if that's resolved in July, then that would be forwarded on to you in August. If it's going to take more than one meeting, we may be seeing that in September, but that's currently in the works right now, and I know the Recreation Director is doing a lot of research on that. And again, this is not just a soccer issue, it's going to be more of a citywide, all sports, travel sports kind of issue for all of our parks facilities, because this is not just going to be a soccer issue. We have other travel teams in the area that use some of the facilities as well. So, and then lastly, just a reminder, and I'll remind you at the next meeting, on June 29th, we will have our first movie in the park, and that'll be again at Sherman Park, and the movie will be Sandlot. So hope to see everybody there again, June 29th. That's all I had, Mayor, unless anyone had any questions for me.
Michael, can you give us an update on the letter you sent to the county CEO regarding the property tax administrative fees?
Yeah, I am actually scheduled to meet with her, I believe, this Thursday to talk PTAF.
Okay.
So.
Okay. our calculation is a lot different than the county's, so.
It is.
So I'm hoping,
But, you know, we've been very fortunate that our supervisor has attended a lot of our meetings, so we understand a lot of how these negotiations should take place, because he shared those with us when the state was stealing his money.
exactly. Exactly.
We understand now how things should be done when someone steals someone's money. So when the state was stealing the county's money, we understood Jim's position. So
Right.
I don't think that would change now that we're in the county's position.
I'm sure Jim's gonna go to bat for us, right?
I talked to her today about it.
You told her that the county owes us $106,000? I take that as a no.
No, I think we'll make a fair settlement.
Well, 106,941. And 62 cents.
We'll waive that.
We'll waive the 62 cents.
Yeah, we'll waive the 62 cents. exactly.
Mayor, just so you know, that was as of our last meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gone up. It's gone up.
It's just compounded hourly, right?
Daily. You can do it daily.
That's 7%. Okay. Thanks, Michael. Any other questions or comments for Michael? Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay. Staff, chief?
Quick update on our downtown cameras. A few weeks ago, we had a vandalism in the city plaza. Nobody saw it happen. No one reported it. It was turned over to us the next day. I think Public Works brought it to our attention. One of the planters was knocked over. We were able to, with the help of Mike Meyer, track the subject walking from down Fresno into the store, down Main, across, tips over, walks out the alley, down 33, down Driscoll, and we have him on tape. We contact him. It wasn't very hard to find. He says I wasn't there. I showed him the video. He said I messed up, and he pled out yesterday to 90 days in jail and probation.
Great.
So they are a very effective tool.
Any restitution?
I didn't get that update up, but I'm sure there was restitution.
Great.
But one of our officers was in court, and it wasn't even a scheduled court date, so I don't know if he was there for something else, and he pled to that case too, without even going to trial.
Good deal. Anything else?
That's about it.
Questions or comments, the chief? Good job. Steph?
Just wanted to thank the council for approving the CDBG cooperative agreement. That'll allow us to remain in the urban county consortia and continue to receive funding directly from HUD, so that's a good thing. We're currently processing a lot line adjustment for Dollar General, so we received our first set of comments from the engineer, so we're just doing some minor revisions, and that should be processed shortly. I'm in the process of scheduling our Prop 84 training with the county. That's essentially to close out the non-motorized transportation plan project. Since the council has since adopted the plan, we now can go back to the other partner cities and do a training where it'll be a part of the sustainability toolbox. Also, just wanted to touch that the city submitted a comment letter to StanCog regarding the Valley Vision Stanislaus scenarios that they're working on. We just made it clear that they were inconsistent with our general plan and just made some corrections that we felt were important. And we completed a NEPA categorical exclusion for the Valley Manor Rehab Project. We're going to be doing some internal rehabilitation of about 15 units over there at the Driscoll Apartments. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments of Stephanie? None? Excuse me, I'm sorry. Lou?
Nothing tonight.
Garner?
I have a few project updates for you. If you haven't noticed, the Hoyer Road Safe Routes to School project has started. They anticipate construction lasting approximately 2 weeks. It seems like that project's going to move along fairly smoothly. In addition to that, the 2013 street repair project should be starting up. They've already issued the notice to proceed, so I anticipate seeing construction on that project end of June, first part of July timeframe. It shouldn't take them long on that project as well, which includes the street project on Patchett's, I believe. And the last one I have is, I don't know if you've noticed, but in the Highway 33 corridor, Caltrans has been out doing numerous sidewalk repairs. When I understand, in between Patterson, Newman, and Gustine, they spent approximately $275,000 fixing tripping hazards along our sidewalks, and they graciously gave me all the credit for making one phone call to get them out here. So just, that's all I have. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, when are they going to fix that pipe down here?
We actually have two calls. We called a couple weeks ago, on usually come out at Kern Street and Driscoll.
Yeah.
Yeah, we called, and then we also called again yesterday.
It's a joke.
Okay, Don?
Nothing.
Roberta?
I don't have anything.
Nick?
Just want to wish my colleague Bob Martina a happy birthday.
Yeah, when?
Today?
Today? Happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
Where's the cake and ice cream?
I already had it.
Oh.
It was good. You're supposed to bring the cake and ice cream, damn it.
I,
He delegated it.
yeah, what the heck?
Michael Glass.
Late cookies and stuff.
Yeah, we'll have cookies. Those
Yeah.
are good. Anyway, thank you.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Anything to
Appreciate
say?
that. Yeah, I just like to thank Lou and staff again for the presentation of the budget, you know. It was concise, it was beautiful. Couldn't say any more. And I'd like to congratulate our chief with his new 2 officers. Now, what are we up to as far as our total number?
17. 5 reserves, 12 paid.
Wow. How do you get these good people? They look like they're great, and their backgrounds is just perfect for
It
being
takes
police officer Newman.
quite a bit of hiring process to go. We had 3 processes before we found 2.
They look terrific. I mean, I'm just impressed with the quality. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay. Well, I just have a couple things, and it's not so much, although it was addressed to me, but in city manager, but this is probably more for our Classic Centennial Committee, and Bob, you as the chairman of it. Got a letter from Walter Newman saying what a great event it was, and his family all commented what a great time they had, and it was very memorable, and Grandpa Simon would be so happy and that kind of stuff. So that's great. So then we also got a card from former Councilmember Ted Kelly, and a card from former Councilmember John Hendrickson, thanking myself and city manager for recognizing them. But again, that's just attributed to you and your committee for doing such a great job. So, so there's cards that were sent. Last thing, Chief, are you going to be at the Louis Newman building on the 28th for the Senior Awareness Information Day as my tag team partner?
Unfortunately, it probably will not be me because I have a court appearance that I must attend.
Okay. You going to have your lieutenant there or somebody?
My lieutenant is out of town. I probably will have a corporal representing the department that day.
That'd be fine. It's an annual thing that that I do with the annual Senior Information Day. It's actually quite fun. The chief and I have kind of tag teamed them for the last few years, and they're a great bunch of people, and they have a great time. They have raffle prizes we give away, and they feed them, and it's a great event, and so I have a lot of fun. But that's coming up on June 28th. If you're around in town, stop by and participate. It's a good time. And again, I just like to reiterate what a very successful trip it was, Washington, D.C. And it was, the other thing I wanted to mention is on the conference call as well, there was people that were calling in from Kentucky, just all over the place. Newman is pretty well known, I mean, throughout the country. It's amazing how many people have had a hand in this project at the federal level. It was, I mean, there's literally people there from all over the country, and people calling in and chiming in on the project, the geologists and everybody that's, so, and I told Michael and Matt afterwards, it's just to hear the comments from everybody across the country that knows about the Orsimer Creek project was pretty amazing, so, and I did tell him I didn't think that I'd live to see this day, let alone it be completed, but maybe.
One step closer.
Yeah, we're a step closer.
That's good. That's great.
Yeah.
Too bad the Modesto Bay doesn't even know we exist.
Yeah, well, who needs Modesto B? Motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.